You've really got to enjoy interacting with the students, getting involved with where they're coming from, and then working with them in their sort of their individual abilities to grapple with something that they don't know how to handle.
Well, I am familiar with some of the terms, but I don't know.
I understand. Part of it is a psychological issue where you recognize that students are struggling with new material, and it is sometimes very complex material. So this concept of sampling distribution is really very important. And then all of a sudden, watching the light bulb go off, they get it, there's an epiphany. And when that happens, it's terribly gratifying to the instructor, because all of a sudden all that effort that you invested in helping them to overcome the obstacles of not understanding it, all of a sudden the effort pays off, and that's a great part of the job. The Department of Decision Sciences is the department which focuses largely on managerial decision-making, the science of managerial decision-making. So we cut into all of the major disciplines. We cut into finance, we cut into marketing, we cut into accountancy, we cut into international business. We cut into all of these various disciplines that require some kind of quantitative aspect, some kind of high-level quantification. There's typically a set of standard rules, of standard principles that each of these disciplines draws on. And it is the responsibility of the Department of Decision Sciences to help students to understand what those standard sets of rules are. A manager is frequently required to make decisions based on a sample of data rather than having the whole population. And so DAD starts with the proposition that we don't have the entire population, that we have only a random sample, and we now need to say something important about the population, even though we don't have the population data to deal with. And that's sort of the centralizing feature of data analysis and decision making. If there is a sample, there's a population, you're trying to use the data that you draw, the data you get from a random sample to say something meaningful about the underlying population.
Sounds like a lot of dense material. What kinds of advice would you give students coming into the class who might find it to be a little daunting at first?
First of all, we try to structure it so that, yes, eventually it gets dense. It's a little bit of peeling off layers of the onion, but it's workably dense. It's not overwhelmingly dense. It's really only one way to grasp this material, and that's just practice, practice, practice. A lot of them bring their real life problems to me as part of the course, and they will say, I got this problem and I'm not quite sure, it seems like it's related to what we're dealing with here in class, but I'm not absolutely sure. Could you help me work through it? And I got to say that becomes a very important part of the education for a lot of students, because now all of a sudden it's real. It's not just out of a book. It's, wow, I can really use this stuff.
You ended up in psychology?
I ended up in psychology. I'm a psychology, all my background's in psychology. My PhD is in psychology, and all of my research is in psychology. And when I was doing the psychology PhD degree, I had to teach myself statistics, and when I graduated, they looked at me and said, you really know this stuff. Maybe you should come on board and teach it for us. So next thing I knew, I was on the faculty. Did you have calculus?
I did in high school.
In high school. I had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful teacher in high school, calculus. This was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I was going to be a math major when I went to college. And then I got to college and took advanced calculus, and it's not like anything.
I majored in calculus.
You majored in calculus?
For 3 years.
Whoa, is that right? Well, good for you. And of course, we're dealing with really just an incredible group of students with a variety of backgrounds. I learn an enormous amount in this job.
What's been your favorite part about teaching?
Students.
Students.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's a no-brainer for me.
But you stayed awake.